The pregnant widow found an old boat in the lake and heard her name whispered. This is a true story that unfolded in the eerie stillness of Lake Hallow in Vermont during the summer of 2018. As I approached that decrepit vessel, the water shimmered unnaturally, revealing silhouettes that danced beneath the surface, flickering in and out of existence like memories I wasn't ready to face. An inexplicable rush of cold air swept through, carrying the scent of old pine and something sweetly decayed, while whispers, my name, echoed from the depths, chilling my spine. With my husband lost to a tragic accident just months before and the weight of our unborn child heavy on my heart, I thought I had come to that remote spot for peace, not knowing that the lake's past held darker secrets. I felt an unseen force tugging at my arm, pulling me closer to the boat, and panic clawed at me when the waters surged up, threatening to claim me and my child. I had been seeking solace, a place to mourn in solitude, and yet the moment my foot touched the soft, muddy bank, I felt it. A tingling sensation that coursed through my veins, anchoring me to that spot just as surely as the grief I carried. Every breath felt heavy with the weight of loss, as if the air around me was saturated with memories of laughter, of hope, of a future that had crumbled too soon. The lake, with its deceptive tranquility, called to me in a way I couldn't ignore. I rubbed my belly gently, a reminder of the life still thriving within, yet the sense of peace I craved eluded me. Instead, the whispers intensified, wrapping around my thoughts like a creeping vine, each syllable sharpened with urgency. The setting sun drenched everything in shades of orange and crimson, casting shadows that elongated and twisted in the fading light. As I looked down at the water, I caught a glimpse of my reflection, the tear-streaked face of a mourning widow framed by the serene chaos of nature. "What do you want from me?" I unconsciously murmured, half expecting an answer. The lake was still, but I could feel it deepening, revealing layers of emotion that mirrored my own. In the silence, I was overwhelmed by a potent mix of fear and curiosity that tugged at my heart. Then, with the suddenness of a thunderclap, an icy shiver shot down my spine as the wind picked up, its howling echoing the cries that danced at the edges of my consciousness. Could it be? Voices from the past? I had dismissed these as figments of a grieving mind, yet here they were, more present than my own heartbeat. My breath quickened as I stared out across the glistening surface of the lake, half expecting to see figures rising from the depths, their stories unfurling like a spectral ballet beneath the rippling water. Each whisper felt like a call, an invitation to explore the depths of sorrow and hope intertwined. As I stood there, paralyzed by apprehension, memories of my grandmother's tales flooded my mind, stories she'd recounted during long, rainy nights by the fire. "The lake holds secrets," she would say, her voice trembling like the flames. "Souls lost in water call out for release." Just as her words echoed back to me, I felt a stirring within, an ancestral strength surging through my body, urging me to confront the untold stories lingering in the shadows. If I could only tap into that wisdom, perhaps I could navigate the pull of the lake, that strange force that both beckoned and threatened. With a heart pounding not only from fear, but with fierce maternal instinct, I asked again, louder this time, "What do you want?" The water instantly stilled, creating a surreal calm, as if the entire world was holding its breath. In that tense silence, shadows began to swirl again, more frenetic this time, revealing flashes of anguished faces that reached for me. My heart raced as panic seized me, heartened by the knowledge that I had to delve deeper into this gathering storm of loss. The silhouettes flickered like the flames of my grandmother's fire, illuminating tragic histories that lingered beneath the surface. Each face, as they materialized in the depths, told a different story, a tragic accident, unfulfilled dreams, and promises lost to the whims of fate. The whispers around me morphed, their tones shifting from mournful to urgent, entwining with my own grief and uncertainty. Every time a name was whispered, it felt like the lake was echoing my own, binding us together in a tapestry woven from sorrow and longing. In that moment, I stood at the threshold of two worlds, one of the living and one of the lost. The shadows pressed upon me, revealing the truth that had spiraled from the depths of my mind. The spirits weren't malicious, they yearned to be acknowledged, to break free from the solitude that claimed them. My fear transformed into understanding as I grasped the weight of their stories, stories that risked fading into the ether if I allowed my own grief to eclipse my purpose. If I could only break the silence, I thought desperately, maybe I could bring them peace. As the last light of day faded, I knew I could not turn my back on this. I had to confront this presence, to bridge the gap, a moment that would shatter my understanding of what it meant to connect across the veil of life and death. As I stepped closer to the water's edge, the chill seeped deeper, yet I held my ground, fueled by a force stronger than fear. What I needed to discover loomed just before me, a truth that would turn everything I knew upside down. As the shadows twisted and writhed in the water, I felt a tingling at the back of my neck, a warning that surged through me like static electricity. There was something palpable in the air, a history laden with grief that threatened to engulf me entirely. "I see you," I called out, my voice trembling as it pierced the hushed tension. "I know you're there." A cold breeze swept by, sending a shiver through my body, and in that moment, I sensed their presence escalating around me. The frantic shapes in the water surged close to me, swirling in a desperate dance, their cries becoming almost a symphony in my ears, echoes of their unfulfilled lives reaching out, urging me to understand. I had never felt anything like it. It was as if the water itself came alive, rippling with remnants of their pain. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block out the chaos, yet in my mind's eye, vivid images began to unfurl. A young woman in tattered clothes, standing at the edge of a boat, her eyes filled with dread as the waves tossed her fate away. A child, no older than 5, his small hands reaching out as he sank beneath the surface. The loss was palpable, suffocating, and I felt the urgency in their silence rallying around my fading resolve. "If you need to be remembered, then tell me," I cried out, desperation driving my words. "Show me what binds you here." Instantly, everything shifted. The shadows took on a distinct form, their faces momentarily clear before blurring away. Each flicker sparked a memory in me, a pull threading through the sorrow of lives lost, urging me to listen more closely. These visions were their messages, their pleas for recognition, and in each follow-up whisper, I felt a connection to their pain that mirrored my own unbearable heartache. The wind howled in response, as if the entire world was aligning with my intention. I felt my grandmother's spirit beside me, an ethereal warmth wrapping around my shoulders, encouraging me to search for strength. Their voices need to be heard, I thought, recalling her tales of lost spirits finding peace through connection. But how? Panic folded in on itself, drowning in my uncertainty. The world felt both unbearably heavy and achingly delicate, and I had to reach out, stretch myself beyond fear. I stepped further into the water, timid but resolute, the coolness sweeping over me, anchoring me to the moment. As the liquid encased my knees, time blurred. It was all too easy to lose myself in the mystery of the lake. Above me, thunderclouds brewed, casting a deep shadow that seemed to merge with the melancholy swirling around me. The weight of two worlds pressed against my chest, both aching but illuminating. The pain of past souls mingled with the flickering hope of my unborn child nestled securely within. Then, without warning, the shadows converged, solidifying for an instant into cohesive forms, a collective of lost faces, each one twisted with a desperate hope as they reached out toward me. The trembling hands grasped at the edges of my reality, pulling me into their collective sorrow. I gasped. "What do you want from me?" I shouted once more, a demand that echoed over the chaotic whispers. In response, the lake erupted in movement. The water churned, and memories of anguish broke the surface. Rippling waves sent droplets spraying across my skin, drenching me in a sense of urgency and dread. In that moment, clarity struck. If they longed for acknowledgement, perhaps I could finally find answers. I closed my eyes and took a deep, steadying breath, and when my gaze returned to the water, I was ready to invite their messages. "I will remember you," I asserted, the words spilling forth like a promise etched in the very fabric of the evening. "I will tell your stories." A wave of energy rolled back off the lake as if responding to my vow, connecting me to their pain and their grief. I could feel it in my bones, the weight of lives unheard and unrecorded, urging me to break the cycle of forgetting. I let myself sink further into the water, saturated with purpose, knowing I couldn't retreat any longer. The lake pulsed around me, enveloping me like a shroud, mixing my mourning with theirs, breathing new life into the echoes of sorrow that lingered. In the depths, I recognized shadows pointing toward a deeper truth hidden beneath the waves, the essence of what tied me to them: love and loss. Suddenly, the name of my husband popped into my mind, flooding my heart with warmth and grief. "David," I murmured, uncertain if saying his name would connect us further. "I remember you." With the utterance, something in the water shifted. The shadows began to recede, breaking the intensifying grip they had over me, revealing an open expanse that felt oddly peaceful. For the first time, I felt a connection not born of desperation, but of mutual understanding. The spirits weren't my adversaries. They were kindred souls needing to be recognized, needing validation for their existence. As I absorbed this realization, a series of gentle whispers enveloped me, weaving their fallen stories around the very air I breathed. The lake was no longer just a body of water. It had transformed into a conduit between realms, bridging the living and the lost. "I will tell your stories," I repeated, my heart steady, as I felt their energy guiding me with warmth. It was a strange reciprocity. I could feel their strength surging through me, breathing new life into the hollow pit left by my loss. In that moment of connection, I found empowerment swelling within me, the conviction to not only remember my husband, but to honor each and every lost soul in the waters of Lake Hallow. This wasn't an ending, but a beginning, a shared journey between a light and shadows. With the water surrounding me pulsing with a new energy, I felt the weight of fear lift, replaced by an overwhelming sense of purpose. "I see you," I whispered again, looking out across the surface of the lake, now appearing more like a mirror, reflecting not just my image, but the countless souls that had once tread upon these shores. Each face I imagined had a story, a tale of love intertwined with tragedy, dreams dashed against the rocks of fate. As I contemplated their unsung lives, the lake shifted once more, revealing darkened shapes lurking beneath the surface. The whispers grew more insistent, wrapping around me like a gentle current that pulled at my heartstrings. I understood now. I was not simply a spectator, but a participant in this haunting narrative, called to be their voice. It was a heavy responsibility, yet it filled me with a strength I hadn't known I possessed. I turned my gaze toward the distant tree line, where shadows grew longer as the sun sank lower in the sky. The air thickened with emotion, and the beings waiting below yearned for acknowledgement as much as I craved comfort. "What happened to you?" I began softly, hoping my words would threads of connection across the abyss. Suddenly, a surge of icy wind cut through the warm evening air, nudging me further into the depths of the lake's lore. The water surged around me, rolling like the waves of stories crashing against the shore, each ripple bringing with it tales of sorrow, warning, and hope. I could see them now, fragmented visions coalescing into vivid scenes, boats splintering against unseen rocks, cries for help swallowed by the depths, families shattered by loss, Moments of joy turned into shadows of despair. A profound sense of loss flooded me as I glimpsed their lives and experiences, each transient memory unfolding like flowers blossoming above the surface of my sorrow. My heart ached in harmony with theirs, and I realized my journey was not just about my grief. It was a path of healing, a shared endeavor that intertwined lives lost with the living. "Please, tell me how to help you," I pleaded, the urgency spilling from my lips. The lake throbbed with my plea, and the spirits responded with a sudden clarity. Forms began to take shape within the depths, their faces more definitive as light from above cast shimmering reflections across the surface. I caught fragments of their narratives, shimmering like precious gems, searching for the one to link me to their truths. One silhouette emerged higher than the others, a young woman standing with a face etched in anguish, her hands reaching toward me. I inhaled sharply, feeling a visceral connection. You're trying to warn me?" I ventured. The shadows nodded, and I felt what had been lost begin to resurrect in the corners of my mind. Her voice enveloped me, a soft yet piercing whisper, blending seamlessly with the sound of water lapping against the shore. "Find the anchor," she urged, her eyes gleaming with urgency and sorrow. "The past holds the key to our release." I blinked, trying to comprehend her words. Like a dream fading upon awakening, the revelation slipped from my grasp. Yet the insistence of her plea lingered as if it were imbued with the weight of countless lifetimes. Just then, the wind shifted again, strong and wild, forcing my attention back to the water's surface. I gazed into the depths, and as I steadied my breath, I felt the presence of other souls rising to join her. Many figures emerged, all reaching out while simultaneously blending into the layers of water. I could hear snippets of their lives: an old man who had loved the lake fiercely, a child who once played by its banks, and mothers who had wept for those they'd lost. Each contained a fragment of a story, still echoing through time. "Find the anchor," the girl echoed once more, her voice a tranquil note amidst the chaos, as if she were guiding me to grasp what I'd been missing all along. Our stories need telling. Determination surged within me as I visualized finding this anchor, a tangible piece of their existence that could tether their souls to the world. "What does it look like?" I asked, urgency trickling into my tone. "What must I do?" The currents around me transformed again. Manic bursts of swirling energy coalesced, and suddenly the lake unleashed a memory. A flash of a small, weathered boat bobbing in these very waters, a snippet of a heartwarming story surfacing from the depths. There it was, vibrant and full of life, one moment, but still echoing with loss and longing when the memory faded into shadow. "Release," the voices implored, their harmonies mingling in chorus. In that moment, clarity struck, illuminating a path forward. I had to find that boat, the vessel that had housed their memories, and perhaps the missing key to the lives they once lived. As the last hints of daylight slipped to twilight, I turned my focus back to the boat from before, the one I'd feared and felt drawn to. It had always been there, and I now felt it pulsing with potential. "I'll find the anchor," I promised, as the energy surged in the lake, resonating with hope. "I will tell your stories. I will honor your existence." And as those words left my lips, a response rippled through the water, and the whispering intensified, drawing me deeper into the promise of connection. Through memory, loss, and love, we would chart a new destiny together. As night descended, the stars began to twinkle above, reflecting on the lake's surface like diamonds scattered across a dark velvet cloth. It was both beautiful and haunting, the kind of serenity that felt deceiving as I prepared to dive deeper into the mystery of the boat. My heart raced with anticipation, the energy swirling around me, whispering promises of connection and the possibility of release. With every step back to the shoreline, hope ignited within my chest. a tender flame flickering against the vast darkness. The shoreline felt almost sacred underfoot, each grain of sand a thread in the intricate tapestry of the past. I took a moment to gaze out at the water, where the fading light danced in the ripples, illuminating a path that beckoned me toward the boat. "I will find you," I vowed softly, sensing that the spirits were guiding me, their whispers weaving through my thoughts, intertwining with my resolve. Moving carefully, I half expected the shadows of the lake to stir, but instead it was an embrace of stillness that surrounded me, the kind that felt alive with possibilities. I envisioned the small boat bobbing gently, perhaps hidden beneath layers of memories just waiting to be unearthed. "Where could you be?" I murmured, my voice barely a whisper, as though I were afraid to disturb the very fabric of this moment. Suddenly, a memory surged through me, pulling at the threads of my consciousness, once again unveiling the girl with haunted eyes. She stood at the edge of the lake, her small frame barely visible against the backdrop of dusk. In my mind's eye, I watched her as she tied rope to the worn edges of a rickety boat, earnest in her efforts to keep it safe. In that fleeting glimpse, she called out, "Help me!" and I felt her desperation resonate in my bones. That rope must be significant. It anchored the past to the present, connecting her spirit to this world. Determined, I ventured further along the shoreline, my heart pounding with a sense of urgency. Each step felt charged, and the air around me thickened with anticipation. It was as if the spirits themselves were entwined in my quest, urging me onward. My feet splashed gently in the shallow water, the coolness invigorating and grounding. As I scanned the shoreline, my eyes darted to the tangled underbrush lining the bank. Then, just beyond the edge of the towering trees, a flash of something pale caught my attention, a glimpse of white reflected in the moonlight. I forced my way through the undergrowth, my heart pounding as I moved closer. The shadows whispered around me, guiding my steps until I stumbled into a small clearing. There it was. The weathered boat, perched precariously on the edge of the water, bore the scars of time. Its once bright paint had faded, replaced by a coat of algae and decay, yet I could sense its spirit still alive beneath the surface layers. "This is it," I breathed, a mixture of disbelief and exhilaration filling me as I approached. "You found your anchor." As I drew nearer, the girl's face appeared before me, clearer than before, her eyes shimmering like a thin veil of water illuminated by the moon. "You will understand," she said, her voice soft but resolute, reverberating through the very fibers of my being. "Take me with you." Instinctively, I reached out to touch the boat, the cold, damp wood pressing under my fingertips, bringing me a sense of connection. In that moment, a surge of power rippled through me as memories crashed within the vessel like waves. Flashes of life, laughter, and love flickered before my eyes, as if the boat itself was recalling the joy it once helped carry. Yet it was intermingled with sorrow, the heavy price of loss echoing through time. Suddenly, the winds shifted, a tempest threatening to upend the stillness, and the moonlight flickered ominously as dark clouds rolled in. "Help us! They must know!" The voices became a cacophony, each one layering thick with emotion, urgent and desperate. I felt them swirl around me, a whirlwind of need and hope that consumed me as I regained my composure. "I will remember you," I promised fiercely, hunkering down against the growing storm. With newfound resolve, I turned to the boat and began searching through its forgotten contents, and as I did, a strange sense of familiarity washed over me. Among decayed life jackets, a worn diary slipped from beneath an old tarp, the pages yellowed with age, yet intact as I reached for it with trembling hands. "Oh," I gasped, realizing it must belong to the girl. Flipping it open, I scanned the pages filled with childlike scrawl, snippets of thoughts and emotions spilling out like confessions. Words of hope, dreams, and the longing for freedom intertwined with tales of friendship, the very essence of childhood woven throughout. I read aloud, my voice mingling with the whispers of the shadows. I can't wait to go to the fair again. A childish laugh echoed back through the trees, and I felt the spirit beside me, an echo of joy in her laughter, compelling me forward. As I read, I caught glimmers of anguish beneath the innocent words, the last pages filled with pen strokes that trembled, detailing her longing for family and the fears that haunted her in the dark. "What happened to you?" I whispered, feeling the weight of her pain settle deep within my bones. The wind howled anew, and as I looked up, I saw the shadows coalescing around the boat, the memories echoing through time as they crashed against the shore. "Tell our story," they implored, the urgency in their voices blending into a single purpose. The wind whipped around me, carrying with it fragments of the lives once vibrant in this place. The laughter of children, the agonizing cries of loss, and the recognition that they still resided here, locked in limbo. "Your stories will not die," I vowed, affirming my commitment to honor their legacies. "I will tell them." The shadows surged, wrapping around me like a protective shroud, and I leapt forward, clutching the diary to my chest, feeling its warmth meld with the chill of the water. In that moment, I knew I had become the vessel, the bridge to their stories, and as thunder rumbled overhead, I felt renewed strength course through me. The burden of their tales settled into my heart, intertwining with my own and anchoring us together. With one last glance at the weathered boat, now shimmering with newfound life, I stepped back into the darkness, ready to face whatever came next, ready to be the voice for the voiceless, ready to breathe life back into the echoes of the past. As I made my way back toward the shoreline, a spark of hope flared within me, lighting a path through the shadowy paths that lay ahead. The night was far from over, but I was no longer alone. The wind whipped around me like a restless spirit as I made my way back through the underbrush, determination fortifying my steps. My heart thrummed with the resonance of their stories, the weight of countless lives tethered to my promise, pulling me along with an urgency I had never experienced before. The shadows danced at the edges of my vision, whispering reassuring echoes, as if affirming my commitment to them. With each step, the cool air filled my lungs, carrying the scent of wet earth and decaying leaves, a lingering reminder of what lay behind me. My thoughts drifted between resolve and sorrow, the diary a tangible reminder of the girl who had reached across time to connect with me. "I'll share your stories," I murmured aloud, feeling the shadows converge around me in grateful acknowledgement. When I finally reached the tree line, I paused, gazing at the vast expanse of the lake illuminated by the moon's ethereal glow. It shimmered like a portal, each wave reflecting a memory, a promise, a bridge between two worlds forever changed. I turned my back to the water, steeling myself for the challenges that lay ahead. "Time to gather your stories," I whispered to myself, summoning every ounce of courage I could muster. I began my trek toward the nearby town of Silver Oak, determined to find the people whose lives had once intertwined with those now lost beneath the surface. The path grew dim, buried in shadows and uncertainty, yet I pressed on, each footfall echoing with the legacy of the past. Silver Oak was nestled on the outskirts of the lake, a quaint town that pulsed with its own history, stories hidden in the weathered facades of buildings that had watched over generations. I recalled vague snippets of history I had heard throughout my life, the tales of joy marred by tragedy, of families torn apart and lost loves lingering like specters in the heart of the town. As I entered the town square, the stillness wrapped around me, mingling with the scent of damp wood and earth. The moon became my only source of illumination, casting long shadows that twisted along the cobblestone paths. I felt their stories beckoning me, echoing from each shopfront and home, whispering through the night air. "Seek us out," they urged. I found myself drawn to the ancient library, its illuminated windows flickering like candlelight inside. a sanctuary for the stories I sought. Opening the heavy door, the scent of old books enveloped me, and I crossed the threshold into a world of knowledge, dusty yet vibrant with the whispers of those who had come before. The librarian, a woman with graying hair and wise, gentle eyes, looked up from her desk as I entered. "What brings you here so late?" she asked, her voice warm yet curious. "I need to know about the lake," I replied, my heart hammering with the weight of what I was about to uncover. About the stories of those who were lost. Her gaze held mine for an extended moment, as if searching for something deeper within me. "The lake holds many tales," she said softly. "Some are buried in the past, while others linger just below the surface, waiting to emerge." She paused, nodding slightly. "You're not the first to seek those memories. They often go unheard. Many have tried to capture the essence of the unclaimed." "What do you mean?" I questioned, leaning closer, eager for her words. "It's said that the spirits of loved ones trapped beneath the water seek to communicate with the living," she confessed, a hint of sorrow coloring her tone. "My own sister was one of them. She vanished near that lake, and her memory has haunted me ever since." The shock of her revelation sent a chill down my spine. "What happened?" I asked, feeling an indelible connection to her pain. She gestured for me to sit as the shadows of the library seemed to lean in, hanging on her every word. "It was over 20 years ago. A storm swept through, and she was caught on a boat with friends. They searched for days, but she was never found. Our family never saw her again, but we still feel her presence at times, especially near the water." "Have you ever thought about speaking to her?" I ventured, knowing the depth of connection felt between the living and the lost. "Maybe there's a way to communicate." Her eyes glistened, a veil of unshakable grief hanging between us. "I've tried," she admitted, her voice thick. "But I don't know how to reach her. I'm left feeling powerless." "It sounds like they're still here," I said gently. "They want to share their stories, to find peace. I'm here to honor the lives that were lost and to tell what remains unspoken." The energy coursed between us, an invisible thread weaving our intentions together. The librarian studied my face, contemplating my words. "What do you plan to do?" she asked, curiosity peeking through her sadness. "I'll gather these stories," I vowed, determination swelling within me. "I'll speak to the families, collect their memories, and honor the lives affected by the lake. Together, we can shine a light on the truths that have been hidden for too long." "In that case," she said after a moment, her resolve clear, "I will help you. There are records here dating back to the founding of Silver Oak. Perhaps we can illuminate some of those lost stories." As hours passed in the library, we sifted through dusty documents, forgotten letters, and photographs that bridged the gap between past and present. Each discovery felt like a step toward healing, renewed strength shaping my purpose. I recorded their names, their faces, and their connections to the lake, seeking the anchors that held their stories beneath the water. With each piece of history we uncovered, I felt a spark of recognition, a pulsating connection that vibrated through both the living and the lost. Some of the photographs depicted the same child from my visions, the girl who had reached out to me in the boat, her innocent laughter now more tangible than ever. She had a family, friends, lives intertwined among the living. Finally, we reached a faded scrapbook tucked away in the corner, whispering secrets of bygone summers spent by the shore. As I turned the pages, I gasped, finding a photo of a smiling girl. Not just any girl, but her. "This is her," I declared, pointing eagerly to the familiar face. "This is the spirit who reached out to me." Tears brimmed in the librarian's eyes as she studied the photo, recognition dawning in her expression. "That's my sister," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "We called her Lily." "Lily," I repeated, feeling the name resonate with purpose in my heart. "She wants her story told, and together we can bring the truth to light." we can bridge the realms. The librarian's gaze turned steely with determination. Then we will do this together, she insisted, as the shadows around us began to ebb and flow, pulling closer, igniting with urgency. By the time dawn broke over Silver Oak, a sense of permanence wrapped around me like a warm embrace. I looked deeper into the fabric of time as the shadows embraced the light, filled with the resonance of shared struggles and unbreakable bonds. As the sun rose, illuminating the library's dusty shelves, I knew I had taken a monumental step toward honoring the lives I had promised to remember. Together, we had begun to unearth the stories hidden beneath the ripples, and through those stories, the echoes of lost souls would finally have their day in the light. As the first light of dawn spilled over Silver Oak, illuminating the town with a golden hue, I felt a renewed spirit coursing through me. Today was the day we would begin our work of honoring the memories that had long lingered in the shadows. I could feel the heartbeat of the town echoing around me, infused with the weight of histories yet to be uncovered. The librarian and I stepped outside, the crisp morning air awakening our senses, and there, bathed in morning light, we felt a sense of urgency propel us forward. "We need to prepare for the gathering tonight," I said, glancing at the librarian, whose eyes shone with determination. She nodded, her graying hair catching the light like silver strands of wisdom. "Let's create a flyer inviting everyone to share their stories," she suggested. We headed back inside the library, where the scent of old books mingled with fresh ink as we gathered materials. The anticipation in the air felt electric as we worked, crafting each word carefully, the gravity of our message settling over us. "Gathering by the lakeside tonight, share your stories. Let's remember those we lost," I wrote, each letter infused with the emotions swirling in my heart. The urgency drove me as I thought of the families waiting to be heard, their histories intertwined with the deeper forces surrounding the lake. As we posted flyers throughout the town, we caught the eye of a few passers-by. Mothers pushing strollers paused, peering at the invitation. Teens hanging out on corners glanced our way with curiosity. Their expressions were laced with intrigue, perhaps recognition of the sorrow that often haunted their dreams. It was as if the air was pregnant with lost words, yearning to be spoken into life. The sun reached its zenith, awaiting the evening's gathering that promised to bring together a community bound not only by joy, but by shared grief. Children laughed merrily in the distance, their innocence a stark contrast to the heaviness of those who had lost loved ones to the depths of the lake. As twilight approached, we made our way to the lakeside, lanterns flickering like fireflies against the backdrop of dusk. The air shimmered with warmth as families began to arrive, their collective spirit reflecting a shared purpose, a willingness to embrace their memories and connect with one another. Each family came bearing stories, photographs, and tokens of love that held deep meaning. The librarian looked at me, her face a mask of resolve. "This is it," she whispered, anticipation crackling in the surrounding air. "We're about to honor our loved ones." As night fell, the gathering formed a circle, the fading light casting long shadows upon the grass. My heart raced as I gazed at the faces illuminated by firelight. I felt the weight of their histories, stories echoing from the depths of the lake. It fueled my determination to shine a light on these powerful connections. The first to speak was a man with kind eyes, his hands trembling around a weathered photograph. "This is my brother Ryan," he began, a lump constricting his throat. "He was lost 2 years ago in a storm on the lake. Every year, we come here to remember him." The darkness enveloped us, yet within it, I sensed the flickering shadows responding to his words. Ryan loved fishing with our dad. We spent hours casting lines and talking about everything and nothing. I wish I could share one more moment with him. The gathering held its breath, the heaviness of grief palpable in the air. Next, a soft voice emerged, female, shaky yet determined. A woman stepped forward, clutching a small box. "I'm here for my daughter, Mia," she said, her voice quaking. She was just 8 when she disappeared. She loved the lake's beauty and would wander the shore, collecting shells. The shadows danced at her feet, mourning alongside her. Every day without her feels like a lifetime. I want to believe she's out there, waiting. A hush fell over the gathering as her heartache settled in the air. Moved by her words, I stepped forward. Mia and Ryan, along with all the souls tied to this lake, remain with us even now. They hear our stories and our love. They watch over us. My heart pounded as I opened the diary, cradling it like a sacred artifact. Tonight, we will share their stories and celebrate their lives, bringing them back to the present, warming our hearts with their memory. As I began to read snippets from the diary, I felt the intensity swell within me, the shadows wrapping around us, listening intently to every word. The stories I shared radiated with love and loss, memories of laughter interwoven with heartache. One by one, families stepped forward and shared their stories, their sadness transforming into a collective strength. The echoes of the past intermingled with the present, creating a tapestry woven from threads of pain and healing. The lanterns illuminated their faces, casting warmth against the darkness, igniting hope in the hearts of those gathered. A few children joined in, talking about the adventures they'd shared at the lake, their innocent voices reminding us of the joy that also resided in memories. "Our brother always told us stories about mermaids," one boy said with a sparkle in his eye. "He'd say they lived under the water, waiting to help kids who got lost." Sweet giggles followed, and the soft and buoyant laughter seemed to lift our spirits. As the night deepened, I felt a wash of emotion stir within me. I looked around at the faces illuminated by flickering light, and for a moment, I felt a sense of connection that transcended time and space, a bond forming between us all, anchored in shared love and loss. The shadows responded, melding with the light like threads in a great cosmic tapestry of intertwined destinies. "Your stories are significant," I addressed them all, my voice steadying as the weight of our shared experiences settled in the air. "In remembering the ones we've lost, we honor them. They become part of us, their legacies indelible in our hearts. Each candle lit tonight represents not only their memory, but also the love that remains unbroken." As I spoke, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves overhead, a soft whisper brushing against my cheek. I felt Lily's presence swell beside me, intertwining with others who had chosen to connect with the living. They were no longer just shadows, they were voices, memories finding their place in the hearts of those who remained. The gathering swelled into a symphony of stories and laughter, echoes merging into the night. As the flames danced and stories flowed, I sensed the souls watching over us, grateful for the light we brought to the darkness. Together, we transformed grief into love, finding strength in each other. It marked a shift, not only for the families gathered, but for the town itself. The gathering felt like a rebirth, an acknowledgement of what had been lost, while simultaneously celebrating the life that continued in the hearts of those who remained. A sacred bond bridged the realms, and from that night, it was clear that together we could rise, lighting the shadows with love and remembrance. I looked around one final time, fully present and alive, absorbing every face shining with new light. The lake shimmered in the distance, a portal connecting the past with the promise of tomorrow. We had each taken a monumental step toward healing, and as the last lantern flickered out, I knew this was just the beginning, an awakening to the stories that needed to be told, echoing across time and space. Tonight, we became a community bound by love, I proclaimed, my voice steady, embracing the warmth of their shared strength. And together, we will continue to share these stories with the world, letting them rise from the depths of the past and into the light. As the last whispers of the evening faded into the horizon, I felt a palpable shift in the air. It was as if the gathering had created a bridge not just between the living and the departed, but among ourselves, a community woven together by threads of shared experiences and unbreakable love. The flickering lanterns cast soft shadows on the gathered faces, lighting their expressions with resolute hope and renewed purpose. As we began to disperse, families lingered, hesitant to break the circle that had connected us all so deeply. The warmth of shared grief and joy wrapped around us, creating a fragile yet powerful bond. I spotted the librarian, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She approached me, her voice thick with emotion. "I never imagined tonight could bring so much healing. Thank you for helping us remember." "Together we did this," I replied, feeling the weight of her words resonate within me. Tonight was about honoring those we have lost and ensuring their stories are never forgotten. As I turned back to the lake, the water glimmered under the moonlight, reflecting our laughter and our sorrow, a living tapestry of what had been shared. As I stood there, the echoes of the spirits lingered in the cool night air, still swirling around us like invisible currents. It was a reminder that our encounters, both joyous and painful, were part of a much larger narrative that bound us all. I contemplated the impact of that night on Silver Oak. The whispers would spread throughout the town and beyond. Conversations would ripple out, stories would intertwine, and the lives lost would weave into the fabric of the community, reminding us that we were never truly alone. Days passed, marked by a gentle promise of warmth rising with the sun. I found solace in the quiet moments following the gathering. Each morning, I strolled the streets of Silver Oak, feeling the weight of the past shift toward the light. Children laughed in the playground, and the soft chatter of neighbors filled the air as they recounted memories of those lost. Their stories began to intertwine, revealing a beautiful tapestry of shared experiences and joy despite sorrow. One afternoon, I decided to visit the local diner, a beloved gathering place where locals shared meals and stories of their own. Stepping inside, the familiar scent of coffee and baked goods wrapped around me like a warm hug. The bell above the door jingled, and heads turned in my direction. "Hey there, join us," called out an older gentleman sitting at the counter, motioning to the empty seat beside him. I smiled and made my way over, the atmosphere friendly and inviting. "I heard about the gathering at the lake," he said with a grin, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. "It sounds like it was something special. People have been buzzing about it ever since." "It really was," I replied, excitement bubbling up as I recounted the event. I shared stories of the families who had opened their hearts and the spirit of healing that enveloped us all. Each tale felt like a heartbeat resonating through me, transforming the weight of loss into a melody of hope. As I spoke, several patrons around the diner listened intently, nodding in agreement. "We've all lost someone," a woman chimed in, her voice carrying the weight of sorrow. "It's not just the spirits we remember. We honor them through how we live and love." "Exactly," I exclaimed, feeling the energy shift toward a collective ownership of grief and resilience. By sharing our stories, we ensure their light doesn't just fade into darkness. The conversations flowed like a river, weaving through discussions of joyful memories and shared heartaches. By the time we parted ways, I felt a sense of unity that had blossomed from the ashes of sorrow. Each interaction emphasized the importance of storytelling, how we were able to breathe life into our histories, not just for ourselves, but for the ones who came before us. It wasn't long before I began to receive messages and phone calls from residents eager to share their own stories that had languished in silence for far too long. Some reached out timidly, unsure of how their experiences would resonate, while others spoke with fervor, eager to unearth the truth wrapped in their memories. It was exhilarating and humbling to witness. One afternoon, a mother named Sarah contacted me, her voice fragile yet determined. "Can we meet?" she asked, her breathing heavy with emotion. I want to talk about my son, Henry. He was lost to the lake 3 years ago. My heart sank, but the urgency in her voice ignited something within me. Of course, Sarah. I'll come to you. We arranged to meet at a local park, a space filled with laughter and the rustle of leaves. But perhaps more significantly, it felt like a place where the living and the souls of the departed could coexist peacefully. When I arrived, I spotted her seated on a bench, her face a mixture of apprehension and hope. I quietly introduced myself, and we shared a moment of silence, a pause that felt heavy with the weight of her loss. "Thank you for coming," she finally said, her voice trembling like the wings of a butterfly. "Thank you for trusting me with Henry's story," I replied gently, sensing the fragility of this moment. Sarah took a deep breath, her shoulders rising and falling like the tide. "He used to love this park. We'd come here every weekend when he was alive. It was our special place." Her voice trembled as she recounted memories, laughter, spontaneity, and unfathomable loss. With each shared memory, I felt the layers of her heart unfolding like petals of a flower. "I've never known how to honor him," she confessed, tears glistening in her eyes. "I've been paralyzed by grief and guilt, thinking I could have done something to save him. Henry wouldn't want you to carry that weight alone," I said softly, leaning in. "We can work together to share his story, to allow his spirit to inform and inspire others. You honoring him will help others heal too." As she began to recount her adventures with Henry, I felt the air change, electric with the essence of his spirit. By the end of our conversation, her voice began to rise, full of life and energy as she spoke about her cherished memories of him. We agreed to gather his photographs and share them with the community, reminding everyone that their stories deserve to be told, honored, and never forgotten. Our meeting marked a turning point, not just for Sarah, but for me as well. It grew into a network of connected souls, drawn together by grief, initiated by love, and fueled by collective strength. As we continued meeting with families, each new voice added depth to the tapestry of our community, a rich quilt of stories weaving the past with the present, illuminating those who had ventured before us. Silver Oak came alive with purpose, each encounter igniting a spark of hope. We grew stronger in our resolve to honor the lost, weaving their stories into the very fabric of our town, transforming grief into a powerful force for connection. With each flickering candle and shared memory, I felt the shadows that had lingered around us begin to lift, revealing the beauty that blossomed when we chose to remember together. In time, I realized that it wasn't merely the healing of the living we pursued. It was about being that light for the lost, bridging the gap that had separated our realms. I saw faces around me transform, hearts unfurl, and laughter arise amidst sorrow, a beautiful dance of remembrance that celebrated those we had loved and lost. And as the stories continued to flow, I felt those once silent now echoing with life, their whispers of love becoming a symphony of remembrance that would resonate through Silver Oak forever. As the weeks passed, Silver Oak transformed into a community steeped in healing and remembrance. The shared stories of loss and love resonated in every corner, binding us together in a way I had never experienced. Our gatherings became a testament to the strength found in vulnerability, illuminating the truth that we were not alone in our grief. One evening, as sunset bathed the lake in hues of gold and crimson, I stood on its shore, reflecting on how we had turned a place once filled with sorrow into a sanctuary of remembrance. The lake, a silent witness to our stories, shimmered under the fading light, reminding me of the joy that could coexist with loss. "Are you ready for tonight?" Sarah called as she approached, a flicker of excitement in her eyes. In her hands, she held a collection of photographs, tokens of her son Henry's life, which we had decided to share with the community. "Yes, absolutely. The more families we can involve, the better," I replied, feeling the same palpable excitement course through me. We set up along the water's edge, each lantern we lit, symbolizing not just remembrance, but also our resolve to celebrate the lives of those we had lost. As the families began to gather, I felt a surging energy in the air, electric with anticipation. Sarah took a deep breath, stepping forward to address the circle. "Tonight, we're here to celebrate our lost loved ones," she began, her tone steady. "This is Henry, my son, who loved playing at this lake more than anything in the world." As she spoke, the weight of grief was palpable, yet mingled with sparks of hope. One by one, more families shared their memories, each story a thread weaving into our shared tapestry. "I come here every year to remember my grandpa," a teenager mentioned shyly. "He taught me how to fish, and I always think of him when I'm on the water." The sincerity in his voice drew nods and murmurs of acknowledgement from those around him. As the stories flowed, the air thickened with an almost tangible spirit. I could feel the presence of the departed enveloping us like a warm blanket. We weren't simply recounting grief. We were celebrating legacies, bringing life into the memories of those who had touched our hearts. As the circle turned to me, I shared my own reflections on loss, recounting my journey since I first arrived in Silver Oak. This gathering isn't just about saying goodbye. It's about recognizing that love remains with us, that these connections transcend the boundaries of life and death, I said, my heart swelling with the truth of those words. An inspiring silence followed, as if the spirits of the departed were nodding in agreement. "Would anyone like to share something special they learned from their loved one?" I prompted, encouraging deeper connections. One mother spoke up. "My daughter taught me to savor every moment, even the smallest ones. It's the little things that matter most." Her voice held a bittersweet conviction that resonated deeply. "Beautiful," I responded, realizing once again that we were crafting a narrative that honored both the past and present. The stories we shared painted a vivid picture of lives lived fully, lessons learned amidst the tragedy. As I listened to each voice, I felt a profound sense of unity. Each story, like a flickering lantern in the night, illuminated our shared grief and strength, transforming the darkness into something bright and powerful. Eventually, we began to light candles, each flicker glowing softly in the growing twilight. As the names were spoken and the memories shared, the flaming candles flickered in agreement, as if recognizing the love that transcended the physical realm. As I gazed at the faces around me, illuminated not only by the candlelight, but by their shared strength, I felt a deep sense of peace wash over me. Our collective healing was blossoming, magnified by our willingness to remember and honor our loved ones. "Thank you all for coming together tonight to share your stories," I said. "In celebrating our loved ones, we reaffirm our love for them. Their spirits remain alive in us, urging us to live fully, just as they did." The murmurs of agreement and soft smiles confirmed the warmth spiraling through our gathering. I felt a hopeful transformation as one after another, each of us took a step towards healing. Our stories, once confined to the shadows, were now weaving the essence of those we lost back into the light, celebrating the vibrant tapestry of existence we had created together. It was clear that these shared experiences would continue to resonate throughout Silver Oak and beyond, echoing with a symphony of remembrance that would never truly fade. With every flickering candle and heartfelt memory shared, I realized that our gathering was not just a moment in time. It was a living testament to the power of love, connection, and the indelible bonds we forge across time and space. We were stronger together, and from this moment on, we kept our loved ones close, not just in memory, but in every rhythm of our collective heartbeat.